Jewish Channel's Week in Review. For the first time in 28 years, many Jews gather for a traditional sun blessing, the biggest Chametz bonfires you'll ever see, Kate Moss's Kosher Cookbook, and more news from around the Jewish world. Hello, and welcome to the Jewish Channel's Week in Review. I'm Stephen I. Weiss. All around the globe, Jews were gathering for an occasion even more distinct than Passover, the once-in-28-year traditional blessing of the sun. Christian Needon reports.
It's perhaps the rarest of Jewish traditions. The Jewish blessing of the sun occurs only once every 28 years, and this once-in-a-generation event leads many to nostalgic reflections.
Significant for me because I came from Soviet Union, former Soviet Union, 20 years ago, exactly same time, just before Passover.
Performing this 28 years ago as a young boy, my father having performed it 56 years ago. So really, when you look at the milestones of life, what has transpired in 28 years, it's pretty moving.
Last performed in 1981, when the New York Times reported on one group ascending to the top of the Empire State Building, the blessing of the sun marks the point when Talmudic tradition states the sun was created. While the blessing was usually an esoteric event, the first version of the blessing since the internet became a popular phenomenon has seen an increase in attention to the holiday by Jewish groups of many stripes, including by some to increase environmental awareness. In Williamsburg, Brooklyn, the Hasidic community came together in a crowd of thousands to celebrate and pray. A board of rabbis oversaw the ceremony from a podium, which children strained to see. Adding excitement to the event, the sun, momentarily hidden in clouds, shone through just in time as everyone waited in anticipation. Joyful singing and dancing proceeded. In Manhattan, Director of Chabad Lubavitch of Midtown, Rabbi Joshua Metzger, reminded people to look at the sun only once in order to remember that they were not praying to the sun, but to its creator.
The sun is also a metaphor for God. The Pasuk tells us, Kishemesh Mogein Hashem Elokim, that God is likened to the sun and the atmosphere. And the intensity of the sun reflects an intensity of divine energy in our lives. And of course, as Jews, we strive to incorporate the godly in everything that we do.
In a service loaded with meaning, Metzger also saw a political message.
I think it's quite appropriate that we stand here opposite the United Nations to say the service, to recite the service. And standing here opposite this and reminding the world at large that the Jewish people stand for eternal values, and Eretz Yisrael, Israel, is the eternal land of the Jewish people.
But the blessing itself and the gatherings for it is also a symbol of the political progress Jews have seen with each successive 28-year cycle. So much so that just 4 blessings ago, in 1897, the New York Times reported that that year's gathering actually led to the arrest of its participants for creating an unlawful assembly. Thus far, no arrests were reported for the 2009 version.
Thank you, Christian. Another pre-Passover ritual, though one far more frequent, is the annual burning of Chametz. Margie Rauhat reports on some of the biggest bonfires around.
Fires, both large and small, were lit across the Jewish world last Wednesday morning as part of the annual burning of the Chametz. The tradition, involving bread, grains, and other leavened products, takes place on the eve of Passover and must be completed before the 5th hour after sunrise. Some of the largest communal fires could be found in Brooklyn, where street corners, curbsides, and empty lots were used to burn the final portion of Chametz gathered the night before. The burning signifies a spiritual cleansing and includes a prayer that is recited by the families to release them from ownership of any crumbs that are left behind. In Borough Park, local councilman Simcha Felder released a statement encouraging his constituents to abide by the FDNY's limit of no more than 10 pieces of Chametz for each ritual participant. The fire department also issued a statement noting that all city firefighters had been instructed to promptly extinguish any fires involving those who exceeded their personal quota. This comes 5 years after a Borough Park man poured paint thinner on a Chametz street fire, injuring himself and 4 others. Scenes from this day, however, were far less calamitous, but still very lively, and while participants seemed to obey fire regulations, they nevertheless produced large fires, reaching over 10 feet high in some places, and attracting crowds of dozens, providing a roaring start to the 8 days of Passover.
And now Rebecca Honig-Friedman reports on the most important stories from around the Jewish world.
President Obama hosted the first ever White House Seder on the second night of Passover. Attended by the Obama family and a small group of friends and colleagues, the Seder was a kosher-style, partly potluck affair, with guests bringing dishes to round out those made by White House chefs. The Seder drew praise from both Jewish and Christian leaders and prompted National Jewish Democratic Council's Alexis Rice to declare, "There is no question Obama is a true friend of the Jewish community." In Mideast political Passover news, Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas made a Passover greetings phone call to newly installed Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in which Abbas said that both sides need to work for peace, according to a statement from Netanyahu's office. The statement said Netanyahu seconded the need to advance peace between us and the Palestinians. The phone call was reportedly their first conversation since Netanyahu took office. Late billionaire William Randolph Hearst's famous art collection, now housed in Hearst Castle and a state park in California, is the latest art collection to be caught up in the controversy over artwork taken from Jews during the Holocaust. Two paintings housed in areas of Hearst Castle where Winston Churchill and Calvin Coolidge once slept turned out to have been once owned by a late Jewish German art dealer who fled Berlin in 1933. They were returned to the dealer's grandson in a ceremony at California's state capitol. And in lighter news, famously waifish supermodel Kate Moss has denied rumors that she is writing a kosher cookbook. The rumor mill was abuzz with reports that Moss was busy testing out Jewish recipes on her boyfriend, rocker Jamie Hintz, but a spokesperson for Moss told People.com, quote, "There is no cookbook."
Finally, here's another hilarious Passover clip from the TJC series Holy Days, now airing on the Jewish channel.
Why is this night different?
Because we have to do this. Isn't that the answer always?
While we double dipping, while we all leaning, head towards the kitchen. Tonight we gotta wait 3 hours for the chicken.
There's one about reclining.
Which I don't think anyone is reclining until that question.
We should all lean on our left for this interview, by the way. We should lean on our left side.
How about lying down? Let's lie down on a couch. That sounds like, actually that's more like the rest of the year.
The question is always, why are we here? Because you're a Jew. That is what you're being reminded of. It's like if you're not religious, you go to Seder. What do we learn? You're Jewish. All right? Own it, Jew.
That's all for this week. For more news and analysis from the Jewish Channel, please visit newsdesk.tjctv.com. From all of us here at the Jewish Channel, be well. The Jewish Channel is available on cable, IO Optimum Cable Channel 291, Time Warner Cable Channel 528, Verizon Fios Channel 900, and now Cox Cable Channel 1. For more information, visit tjctv.com.